Even though it's a holiday here in the United States at the time of recording on January 19th, we still got a sneak peek into Ondarion, which I believe is the town coming with the new Royalty and Loyalty, or Royalty and Legacy expansion pack, excuse me. So let's see the sneak peek together. So that was kind of fast. I do want to go back through it maybe a little bit slower if possible. They showed us quite a bit. So, sorry, just going a little bit slower through it. This is the first part. So there's 3 neighborhoods in the new world, as they explained to us before. So this is one of the new areas, is Verdamar. It just looks very nondescript. Like, it doesn't look like any particular country or world that we have in the real life. I don't know. And then it has Casa de Corsario. I mean, it looks gorgeous for what it is. This is Dambélé, which is supposed to be, I thought it was supposed to be African inspired. It doesn't really look African inspired. It's giving kind of Greece, Rome energy, but also still kind of nondescript. And it has a Sankofa residence. And then Bella Corday, which I guess is the world Princess Cordelia is from. And this is the Bella Corday Palace. It's giving Bridgerton for sure, the way it's laid out. I mean, it's all very pretty, but I just don't know. So on the Sims official Discord server, they have a daily decree where they kind of post new information about the game as it's getting closer to launch. So it says, you've seen the world, the land of Ondarion now lie before the court. 3 vibrant regions shaped by history, culture, and the ambition of the dynasties who rule them. Where you choose to settle will define the foundations of your legacy. So Dambélé is a region surrounded by art, generosity, and shared spaces. Open gardens, communal markets, and gathering halls define daily life. Although some buildings may reveal a second purpose after dark. Verdamar, surrounded by the restless sea. Verdamar is home to daring outlaws and calculating nobles. The states here favor strength, adaptability, and watchful vantage points. And then Bella Corday is a land of romance and opulence, filled with candlelit corners and romantic spaces where secrets flourish as easily as beauty. And they actually gave us the map. Now, usually we don't get the world map this early, so we're going to see. So up in that left corner here is Verdamar. So we have a 50 by 50, a blank 20 by 30, a 30 by 30, a 20 by 15, and then I guess a bar that's 30 by 20, and then a 2020 like starter home lot. Down at the bottom is Dambélé. We have a 30 by 20. We have a 20 by 20. We have a 50 by 50. We have a 30 by 20. I don't know what that symbol is. What type of lot is that? And then an apartment. And so it's 2 units. So it sounds like an apartment. We haven't had apartments in Worlds in a minute. Then in Bella Corday, we have a karaoke or some sort of community lot, 40 by 30. We have a blank 64 by 64. We have an apartment complex, 2 units. We have a 20 by 15 and a 50 by 50. So not a lot of empty space. I mean, I only have 2 empty lots, and potentially one of the units of each apartment might be empty. But the world just looks kind of uneventful and doesn't seem cohesive to me. We got a desert part of the town and then 2 countrysides. Like, I'm not quite sure. They also released an article saying designing 11 creator lots for Ondarion in Royalty and Legacy So in the upcoming expansion pack, the world of Ondarion was brought to life through the collaborative efforts in creativity, storytelling, and community. To showcase the unique culture of each dynasty and the kingdom of Ondarion, we partnered with 4 talented creators from the Sims community: Plumbob, King Don, Ava Rotsky, Emerald Stories, and Studio Gabri, inviting each of them to decorate or to design original lots to help define the kingdom, dynasties, neighborhoods, and stories. Okay, so starting with Plumbob Kingdom, Rocco. So Rocco, who's better known as Plumbob Kingdom, designed the Abrantes estate as well as Renaissance Road and La Vivance. Based in Brazil, Rocco has been playing The Sims since the original game. With a background in fashion and love for decoration, architecture, and art, his builds are rich in detail, layered with inspiration from antique decor and vintage finds. Drawing from the dark academia, Victorian, classic, and rustic influences, Rocco's spaces feel dramatic and lived in. So, interesting. These are some of the buildings up close. So one of the design challenges for Renaissance Road is balancing the exterior that fits Bella Corday's luxury with a more modest interior. How did you approach that contrast? The lot was quite challenging. I'm used to building on large lots, and having to bring all the ideas together and concentrate them into a smaller space really pushed me outside of my comfort zone. On top of that, there was a contrast between the opulent elements and more humble ones. In the end, we conveyed the idea that the more affluent pieces were Juliet's belongings, brought with her when she left her family to join Romeo, and then gradually build her dynasty. La Vivance is such a gorgeous social space. How did you ensure social elements were in the center of the design? The first thing that came to mind when I thought about this lot was the classic idea often seen in films, with a dance floor surrounded by mezzanines, and right in front of it a grand staircase. This was the main scene I imagined everyone would want to see when bringing their Sims to the ball. For the exterior architecture, I aimed to build something characteristic of an eclectic style, a combination of Renaissance, classical, neoclassical, and Baroque styles, with the Teatro Municipal do Rio de Janeiro as an inspiration. One standout feature of the Abrantes estate is the administration room. How do you imagine that space being used in everyday storytelling? We know that the family's matriarch has a great thirst for power and a constant concern with elevating her family's prestige in history. I imagine the throne room as a place where she grants audiences to commoners and takes the opportunity to divulge in what's happening around the neighborhood, especially when it comes to her son's marriage, thus exercising her influence and manipulation and further strengthening her legacy. Now, Ava that designed both the Bella Corday Palace and the Verdemar Palace, bringing 2 different royal households to life. Originally from Austria and now based in London, Ava is an interior designer whose love of architecture and interiors has shaped her love of The Sims, ultimately inspired in her decision to transition into interior design as a career. Since 2020, Ava's been sharing her highly detailed, realistic builds that blend contemporary and vintage elements with a minimalist framework, often inspired by the historical architecture of cities like London, Paris, and New York. What storytelling elements did you include in your build? Both palaces are the homes of very prestigious families who bring a lot of lore into the Sims 4 universe. I definitely wanted to ensure that the different Sims personalities and traits are reflected in their palaces. For example, the Cap household is very materialistic, snobby, and likes to feel exclusive, which is why the interiors show by use of heavy gold accents and pompous, decadent furnishings, as the head of household, Tybalt likes to flaunt his wealth. The household of the Verdemar Palace, Cordelia and Theo, could not be further from the Caps. They are adventurous, avid collectors, and love the sea. The whole color palette of the palace is much darker and moodier, with heavy accents of teals and blues to reflect the household's closeness to the sea. Since Cordelia is a bigger hoarder of treasure, I included a secret room at the top of the tower filled with only the most expensive treasures. You built 2 beautiful palaces. How do they differ from one another? Not only are the 2 households that live in each palace vastly different characters, but the 2 neighborhoods they live in are also very distinctive areas, and both factors majorly influence my design of the palaces. While Bella Corday is very orderly with traditional romantic elements, Verdemar is a lot more untamed and unpredictable, like the sea. Bella Corday's palace, therefore, has a very symmetrical shape with orderly landscaping. Every bush and tree has its place, and even the edges of the maze are trimmed to precision. The neoclassical palace here feels very romantic, with warm pastel colors, grand staircases, glorious wisteria, hydrangeas, and luxurious decorative sculptures. Vertimar Palace, on the other hand, is designed with the total asymmetric shape in mind. It sits at the top of a hill, isolated from the town. I exaggerate the palace's elevation by giving the build a lot of height to make the most of the cliff-top views. The palace is adorned with highly ornate decorative elements with cooler tones of blue and teal, and plenty of weathering details to reflect the proximity to the sea. Vertimar also feels very romantic, but in a more untamed way than Bellecourt, with hidden spots hidden in nature to add to the secretive nature of the neighborhood. How did you integrate secret passageways into the palace? I wanted the secret passageway to feel like that, secretive, not meant to easily spot, not in obvious places, but in handy locations for the Sims who are in the know. Since the passageways look like old grandfather clocks, they're easy to disguise in grand principal rooms where most Sims would just glance to check the time. So Emerald Stories, Linda, designed the Casa de Corosario and Fishman's Hunt, as well as the Dambira Market in Dambalay. Linda's been playing The Sims for more than 14 years, starting with The Sims Free Play before falling in love with The Sims 3. Her creative journey led her to build tours on TikTok to full-speed builds inspired by nostalgia, dreams, and a carefully curated Pinterest boards. No matter the style, Linda's goal is always the same: spaces that feel warm, safe, and genuinely lived in. The Vertimar neighborhood is definitely fierce. How did you implement this aesthetic while keeping the commoner residents cohesive? There are 6 completely different versions of Casa de Cosario, all wildly different and complicated before I stuck with my final design, but I chose subtle chaos rather than the outright havoc I had before. There are few brown Terrence paint marks on the ground, faded out the stone, all the walls are weathered, and the charm comes from the interior. A moody, regal feel with a purposeful, muted grandeur from both Vertimar and Dambalay neighborhoods. How did you ensure the design captures the essence of a fishing hut while still providing a cozy, livable environment? Colors and textures are everything. I wanted something that has a bit of the air of a boathouse whilst not standing out too much. Similar to the commoner house, this had to look covert, unassuming, and simple. I went with the natural tones of the sea, light brown, blue, and white. I didn't veer off the simplistic wood and stone, but I purposely veered away from metals and other harsh materials. Finally, the space had to be open, breathable, and fluid. With the traditional lack of windows in boathouses, I needed the build to feel less like a confined space, but a well-thought-out conversion. That meant open access to the bedroom and the loft, entrances from the side, front, or back, and being able to see into the kitchen from the living room. The market can definitely be a top center space for community. What strategies did you use to create a cohesive and inviting atmosphere that encourages community interaction throughout the market? I did not want there to be isolated areas, no full walks, no closed sofas, and barely any doors. I wanted Sims to walk past and see the community occurring, to hear the conversations, and using imagination to smell the food, and without barriers, this is possible. There is a fundamental connection West African homes have with the earth, and I wanted this to be apparent in the build. The roofs cover what needs to be covered. I did not deny my Sims a lot of sun, and the walls are full of greenery, letting life exist within the material itself. I had a lot of fun imagining my Sims simply walking through to get to their destination quicker, or being immersed for a second and moving on. Monetary shelter, shade, or reprieve. Either way, it's not obstructive. It purposely connects Sim to Sim, Sim to Earth, and destination to destination. And then Studio Gabri, so this is also Gabby, designed the Ye Old Voyager, Sankofa residence, and hardcover. Gabby is an interior designer whose love for The Sims began with the original game and has come full circle in her real-life career. With a Bachelor's of Science in Interior Design and her current role as a senior designer, Gabby credits The Sims as a key creative influence behind her professional journey. Since launching her Sims content in late 2024, she's been known for contemporary and modern heritage-inspired builds that treats every lot like a real-world design challenge, with the goal of inspiring and encouraging the community to always keep going. Hardcover, the Vertimar beer used to be frequented by pirates. How did you ensure that history was reflected in the build? Vertimar, or as I nicknamed the Old Sea, is rich in maritime history. I wanted to ensure that the bar reflects the history of both the exterior and interior of the builds. I want the exterior to be a nod to the old and the new, which is represented in the materials and structure. From the exterior, you see weathered limestone and lush vegetation, deep emerald green windows and doors, along with sleek round glass windows on the second floor that pay homage to that of the modern seafaring navigation equipment. On the interior, As it was frequented by pirates, I wanted to feel like an opulent extension of a pirate ship through the rich wood paneled flooring, walls, and ceiling, a mixing of furnishing and decor. Touches of the deep emerald green, shell motifs, and nautical items throughout both floors of the interior add to that maritime charm. The Sankofa residence in Dambélé is very luxurious. What elements of luxury did you implement in this build? Dambélé, though known for its sense of community, is a very luxurious in cultural and environmental elements. To capture the luxury and build on the environment and implement it into the noble residence, I initially started with the fountains in the front of the home as a focal point and worked on the shell of the building around that. Paired with a neutral limestone, geometric tiles, and columns, I wanted the structure to have a modern, visually interesting shape that had varying heights, half walls, and Dambélé-style doors and windows. Think modern opulence with West African influence. The interior stairs can be seen from the second floor that are also a design decision that I worked through the end that adds texture and character to the build. The hardcover is a library by day and a nightclub by night. How did you create two very opposing ideas in one space? The back room is a cool concept because it's a library by day and a nightclub by night are two very different social environments. I wanted to ensure that the exterior and interior made sense together. Truthfully, I came up with several ideas for this build because my mind went into several directions of where I could take it, but I'm very happy with where it landed in the end. Structurally, I wanted the shape to also be characteristic of the modern architecture throughout Dambélé, but also feel historic as if those have been here a long time. So now that we have the map, a little bit more information about each building, it's a little bit easier to see what the vision was, although it does not run cohesive between the three neighborhoods in this world. I'm glad that we're getting this information early for those who like to plan ahead or build their maps, but I'm still not 100% sure how I feel about this expansion pack as a whole. I'm trying to hold my opinion until we get the actual gameplay trailer, which I believe is coming out on the 22nd, but I feel like I'm missing something. Where is the gameplay portion of this expansion pack? Yeah, I'm kind of missing out. So let me know in the comments below what you think.